that Attorney General Pam Bondi has announced charges against 3 people in domestic terrorism attacks on Teslas, now facing up to 20 years in prison for domestic terrorism.
We need to talk about all this activity that we've been seeing, the unhuman activity of the Tesla terrorists, Luigi Maggioni, these massive quote unquote populist rallies that seem to be going on from the populist left with AOC. But there's some interesting talk about whether or not those people, there's this thread going around on Twitter, and Zero Hedge has it up, saying that like almost 90% of them have been to multiple Kamala Harris rallies. First of all, I was at multiple Kamala Harris rallies, but that's because I do this for a living. I can't imagine anyone doing this, but I do remember that when we went there, we literally filmed the buses dropping off Kamala Harris, quote unquote, fans. So we know they were bussed in. I'm the guy who broke the story, along with my brother, Kevin Pasovic. So Joshua, when we see this wave of violence that's been sparked against the Teslas, specifically the Tesla terrorists, growing swastikas on them, setting them on fire, seeing them, people, performing lewd acts on Teslas, which, by the way, gets into the deranged, degenerate sexuality of the left. What's interesting to me is that the Tesla itself as a symbol, and perhaps you can help explain this to us, Tesla, when it was first created and conceived of and introduced in America, it was from the left. This was a green car. This was the face of the green movement. This was almost the theosis of the green movement, was the creation of Tesla and the Tesla charging stations. It was all left coded. Now, because after Elon Musk bought Twitter and then endorsed Trump and helped him out, created DOGE, now suddenly the Tesla itself as a symbol is the target of hate. It's the target of terrorism. It's the target of animosity. How is it that this symbol has gone in just a few short years from the almost a leftist avatar, something they worshipped in a sort of quasi pseudo religious fashion, which I'm dead serious, by the way. That's exactly what Gaia worship and eco worship is, to the point where they are now actually destroying it and claiming that it is somehow right coded. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe anything's changed with the cars themselves, right? It's still the same car, right? It's literally the exact same machine. It's on 2 wheels. There's some cameras. You plug it in. Everybody gets it. Same exact car. But what's changed is the symbology. Joshua, walk us through it all.
Yes, what we have to understand about the left is that there's not a coherent philosophy, there's not a coherent worldview or a religion. Those who are true believers of the left are people who are reactionary towards that which is successful, beautiful, strong, popular. And so those things that they deem to be strong, successful, popular, beautiful, they are anti due to that resentment, that cruelty, that envy. And so this is how we began to first notice Trump derangement syndrome and now Elon derangement syndrome. We saw the most recent numbers from MSNBC, of all places, that Elon is now less popular than Donald Trump. He's more unpopular than Donald Trump amongst Democratic voters. And it's because, yes, we have this great president and Donald J. Trump, those of us who are populists and nationalists, but then they have Elon Musk, who is literally the richest man in the world. He has everything they don't have. This guy has a soft harem. He's got all of these women. He's got all of these kids. You could say he's reproductively and biologically successful in all of these ways.
But wait a minute. So does, Alec Baldwin's got a bunch of kids too. But the reason they hate Elon is because Elon, in their view, has crossed the line. Elon, who is such a huge supporter of Barack Obama, is now a supporter of Trump, and therefore everything around Elon must become a symbol of hatred and evil. How do they do this, though? How do they achieve that?
They achieve that because, as a reactionary movement, it is easy to sway this movement. And the reason it's easy to sway it is because the left, for all of their ills, is effective at organizing, getting what Steve Saylor calls a coalition of the fringes. Those people, if we look at, let's call it the physiognomy of all of these protesters and vandalists and, frankly, bioterrorists who are attacking citizens and their Tesla vehicles, if we look at all of them, let's be frank, they're deeply unattractive. They don't look successful. Many of them are still in their pajamas. Let's say we have, we might call some of them diabetes Americans. This situation here with the protesters and the attackers. They are generally not financially successful. If we look at them, probably many of them have significant student loan debt, no full-time employment prospects, not successful, not wealthy, and probably no home. They probably have 2 or 3 roommates. They play video games and engage in other vices throughout the day. And so they are the opposite of everything that Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the right-wing heroes like J.D. Vance are. And because they speak so much about empathy, we understand the lady doth protest too much. And so what we're actually witnessing is emotional projection. Well, the only way I would imagine myself being a traitor to the left is if I were like literally a Nazi. So therefore, you must like literally be a Nazi, and they start to glitch out and twitch out like that. You'll notice this is real. It's not an exaggeration. This is what they do every single time, and so it's that enmity they have with the successful, with those they deem on the right. This is why they're spray painting swastikas. Of course, they're doing it backwards because they don't know what they actually look like, and these are not successful artists. They're not starving artists, and they're not really starving or artists for all the stereotypes of the left.
Well, and isn't there another angle to this as well, in a sense that they're taking the win away from Trump by saying, so in 2016, and I talked about this for years, that when I was in Plotting Against the President with Amanda Milius, I explained the reason that Russiagate was created was to create a false reason for why Trump was able to steal the election. So Trump stole the election. Trump is an evil fascist. He's not, like, you have to understand how the left thinks. So Trump is an evil fascist. How is he able to win the election? Well, it's not possible that 50% of America could actually believe in Donald Trump because he's so evil. So therefore, the Russians cheated. The Russians stole the election, and then this fills that emotional hole. It's really creating in fan community, we would call this head canon. So head canon is like fan theories. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but they create this false reality where Russia gave Trump the election. Well, this time around, they didn't have Russia to blame on that. So what do they have? They have Elon Musk. And if you go, and I guarantee you, if you talk to someone who's a committed, as you call them, Facebook Americans or NPR Americans, they will tell you that Elon stole the election for Trump. And they can't quite explain it because the media hasn't really gotten there, but they'll claim that Starlink did something with the voting machines, and they'll sort of just try to paper over that and say, well, somehow Elon used his magic powers to steal the election for Trump, and therefore Elon's actually the one. He's a traitor. He's a traitor to our side. So that's why Tesla becomes fascist. Tesla becomes evil. Tesla must be killed. Tesla must be destroyed. The same way that, even when Stalin kicked out Trotsky, he had to go track down Trotsky and have him murdered with an ice pick in Mexico. Why? Because anyone who crosses the line, anyone who goes against the revolution, must be killed and destroyed. Which, by the way, Elon still, as far as I'm aware, still sells Teslas. You could buy one right now if you really wanted to. I'm personally fine with my cars, American made, and good old Fords and Chevys in the Pozo household. But yeah, still go do this. The point is, they've changed the anchoring of the symbol to be something that is now evil, something that must be destroyed. And to your point, they don't actually believe any of this stuff. They just have a hatred of various things, various people, various classes, various groups. This is what the Unhumans book describes. Throughout history, this is always what is done. Sometimes it's done in an economic sense. That's what we saw typically in Spain, in France, and in China, but particularly in Russia, you saw it take on this theological stance. You also saw that in France as well. It was Christians, it was ethnic Russians, it was all the various minority groups of Russia came together to wipe out, kill, and brutally torture the ethnic Russian ruling class. You're seeing the same thing now in America with the cultural Marxism. And so Elon's not down with the struggle. Okay, he must be evil. Go, and actually it's you actually just pointed out exactly correctly. It's like South Africa. We just had Dr. Ernst Rotzon from South Africa talking about this, but kill the Boer. And Elon is literally from South Africa. So they just slide him into the South Africa slot and say, there you go, even though he's not an Afrikaner, he's not a Boer. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's all about hatred of affluent white males, and particularly Christians, even though Elon isn't really a religious guy, Christianity goes in there as well because Christianity is directly associated and truly associated with the centralism to the history of Western civilization. So, Joshua, that's why, right? What you've explained is why they're able to switch so quickly because they don't actually believe any of it.